Golair, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind. Hello and welcome to Loaf 1, Slice 3 of the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast. On this week's episode I chat to four of the men who tasted All-Ireland success with Oughterard in the Intermediate Club Championship on an amazing night in January 2020. We chat about great players of their time, black bags on the bus, wins and losses, the journey through Galway in more ways than one, the management of Tommy Finnerty, and the key question of all, how many sweepers are needed to cover for Ciarán Hanley when he goes wandering? Before we meet the men themselves, here's a quick 5-minute trip through Oughterard, County Galway. Bon Sultas. Today our travels bring us to the edges of the beautiful Lough Corrib in County Galway, a little over 25 kilometres past Galway City on the N59 near to Connemara. Fishing is a major pastime in the area naturally enough, but the town and the area has much more going for it too. Along the Corrib, many would be familiar with the iconic Curriva house, owned by Henry and Lucy Hodgson on the Glan Road. Oughterard, incredibly, has historical evidence to show it is one of the few places in Ireland where the first settlers actually built homes more than 6,000 years ago. Visiting today you will find the likes of Oughterard Castle, medieval tower on the outskirts, an area steeped in the history of the ruling O'Flaherty families of the time. Besides the opportunity to grab some crack and fun in the boat inn, Bratnocks, Tatch Bar, Anglers and others, there is another iconic feature which cannot be missed. In 1952, American director John Feeney, better known as John Ford, brought his crew to Galway to film a piece known as The Quiet Man. It would go on to win 2 Academy Awards. A short story about a retired Irish-born boxer named Sean Thornton, better known as Trooper Thorne, who comes back to his homeland to buy the family farm. Of course, as happens, he falls for a local woman, Mary Kate Danaher, who happens to have a brother who also wants to buy the farm. The legend himself, John Wayne, or the Duke as he was known, played the boxer Sean, while the Irish icon herself, Maureen O'Hara, played Mary Kate. The famous bridge in the film, the setting for the famous "Don't you remember Shawneen and how it was" scene, is located just outside Oughterard. In 2013, the US selected the film for cultural preservation in their famed Library of Congress, assuring its place and Oughterard's among the classics. But thankfully the 4 men I had the pleasure of chatting with recently were not quiet men. In January 2020, Eddie Sullivan, Paddy Walsh, Ciarán Hanley and Enda Tierney added their names and those of their teammates to Oughterard and GAA folklore by claiming the All-Ireland Intermediate men's title in Croke Park. Their run to the end is the stuff of dreams. A second half comeback against Micheál Bratnock was just the beginning. On August 24, 2019 and the game in the balance against Kilkerran-Clonberne, referee Frank Kineen awarded a free which could have knocked out the men from Corribdale. As the parish held its breath, Galway talisman Shane Walsh stepped up only to see his free drift right and wide. A 16-all draw was enough to secure Oughterard their spot in the quarter-finals of Galway. They would meet Caltra, a team steeped in history themselves and boasting such iconic surnames in history as Meehan, Mannion and Burke. A solid 9-point win there was followed by a rout of Dunmore in the semi-final. A rematch in the final against Micheál Bratnock awaited them. After drawing the first game, many of the die-hard GAA fans were thrilled that the extra time and penalties was not on the cards. Yet 2 weeks later the draw would appear again and the game went to the dreaded penalties. Incredibly, Oughterard came out on top, thanks to goalkeeper Jordan Waller's save and Matthew Tierney's winning penalty. With little time to spare, they met Tulsk Lord Edwards of Roscommon in the Connacht semi-final. Despite the emphatic scoreline, the game was closer than you would think. Victory in the Connacht final against the Neil of Mayo by 8 suggested this team would be hard stopped. The All-Ireland semi-final pitted them against Templeogue of Kerry, the home of names like Spillane, Morley and Crowley, but to name a few. Despite the odds against them, the travelling fans from the Corrib saw their men win out by a single goal. The final against Maher Clune of Monaghan seemed destined to be a cagey and tight affair given the stakes. However, it was anything but. Eddie O'Sullivan went up the famous steps to collect the silverware, becoming only the second Galway man ever to lift the intermediate trophy after Garrow Clancy from Moycullen in 2008. And so that was that, at least for the football. More than a year on since that evening, they have finally recovered. just enough to have the chats with the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast. Let's meet Oughterard's finest. Enda Tierney, Ciarán Hanley, Paddy Walsh and Captain Eddie O'Sullivan.
Well, Eddie and Paddy, how are things?
Jason, how are things?
Not too bad. Yeah, good to meet you, lads. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, I was saying to Ciarán, I just mostly brought you on just so I could abuse Hanley in front of some other people. So
great.
Oh, that's
no
right.
problem. Can we join in?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, I'm just facilitating.
I don't mind sitting back and just watching.
You do that if you want, of course. Yeah. I'm not looking for the back page on the Star or the Independent or any of that. It's fairly
the front page.
You'd have to get better guests than that.
It's actually it's the front page now that you say it. Yeah, I back page go to shite, so I'm going to go for the front page. So you can say what you want. I let it Hanley out this summer finish anyway, so it's grand. So
I can just leave now if you want.
You'll regret coming on. I told you that already. You regret. We might have
Hanley, you need to stay on, Hanley, so we can abuse it, so you can hear it.
I'm not putting up the video or anything. It's the audio that I'll use from this. So if your hair and stuff isn't up to scratch, don't worry about it. Should be typical YouTube.
It's been 10 years since mine was up to scratch.
He's looking at you there, Eddie. Now, not me.
No rapid.
So I started whoever. Suppose Enda, you're in the corner of my screen. So who were your influences in the GAA growing up, locally or nationally? Who did you look up to?
I suppose influences. I suppose started from home. Dad was always a big GAA man, and just from kicking football with him when I was a young lad. I remember he used to stand in goal and he used to be so annoyed. He'd sit down, he'd stay down until the midges were too bad, and then I'd stay for a few more kicks. And so my love for football started from there. And then I suppose if you go to my idols, then growing up further as well, I suppose Matthew Clancy was always one, being an Oughterard man and playing for Galway for so many years. And I suppose Michael Donlan as well. I remember going to Castleware. I think it was a Connacht final or Connacht semi-final, and he scored an outrageous point, and I was just in awe after that. So there, I suppose, they're my main, I suppose, sporting idols, really. Yeah,
it's interesting. I said Donald actually because David O'Shaughnessy last night, when I asked him I'll ask Keithy and as well who your ultimate GAA player of all time was. I didn't expect him to say Michael Donlan, but he picked him as the greatest GAA player of all time. So I was a bit surprised at that. Eddie, what about yourself?
I'd say, to be honest, growing up, it would have been anyone on the 98 team, probably. Because Pádraig Joyce or Mike Donnan, you could take your pick, like Sean the Boyer even. But any player of that 98 team that was it. I suppose I'd have been 12 or 13, so that would have been peak interest now. So they'd have been the heroes locally then straight away. As soon as Matthew Clancy would have made the team in 2001, he would have become the hero. But I suppose, like, just on what Enda was saying, I suppose initially, like, no more than Enda's dad, my dad would have just brought me to every Oughterard game from the age of 2 or 3, and I lived beside the pitch as well, so I was down there from the age 4, so you could take your pick, any influence there, like, just it all drew me in, like.
Paddy, what about yourself?
I suppose no more than the lads. I was lucky to grow up. We were lucky to grow up in the era when Galway were successful, and it probably didn't even know who half the players were, and absolutely fallen in love with them. Didn't know anything about clubs or where places were in Galway, and just watching the Galway team in 01 especially. Was favourite players from that was I was always a huge fan of Jeff Allen, probably because I couldn't kick off the left myself, and I was just in awe that anyone could kick the ball so far and so accurately with what I thought was probably his bad foot, even though I realised fairly quickly that he was actually left-footed.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I suppose Matthew Clancy's getting a good plug in here as well. But I remember watching Galway play Kerry in the All-Ireland semi-final in 2001, and Matthew's the goal to bring them back into the game, and I suppose ultimately win it for them. But would have known Matthew was from Oughterard, but when Marty Morrissey in the commentary, he said, Matthew Clancy, Oughterard, son of Kevin, that was, you wouldn't imagine that you'd know anyone that would do something at the age, I suppose, of 8. But then in terms of my own personal, who was my influence, the lads were all picking their dads, but my old dad wouldn't kick the ball out of his way. So it was actually my mother, probably, to be honest. I used to go out kicking with me when I was younger. She was mad mad into football, still mad into football. So I'd probably have to pick my mother if I was being forced to pick one of my parents.
Andy, what about yourself?
Well, I suppose like when I was younger, and probably even still now, like I wouldn't sit down and watch a match unless I have to. So like I think like growing up, where I got the love for it really was up at the boys' school up in Oughterard. Like it was literally it was football and nothing else really up there. You know, you'd bring your gear bag in to go training maybe 3 or 4 days after school a week, and you'd tug out to go playing football each break as well. Like, so that's probably where I would have picked up the love for it first. I suppose as well as that, dad's from Cork, so he wouldn't be like a big football man, but he was huge into the hurling. So like Paddy said, when Galway were successful there around early 2000s, Cork were kind of successful enough in the hurling, and he used to bring me to Croke Park most years for All-Ireland finals when I was only about 5 or 6. So I probably would have been, that's where my love for it came from anyway.
That sounds good, yes. I just forget how young you are. It baffles me sometimes. It baffled me when we were across classrooms from each other, and it's still baffling me now when you said the early 2000s, age 5 or 6. So
Yeah.
I still can't get over that. But anyway, if I go around you lads and ask you what was your standout memory, Paddy, from the All-Ireland club title a couple of years ago?
Geez, tough question, and I suppose you're kind of asked it now and again, and it's hard to pick a defining moment. But to think of a few, well, I suppose we were years knocking on the door to get over the line in intermediate in Galway. I think I first played in 2010, and we lost 3 or 4 semi-finals in a county final after replay. So the feeling when we won the penalty shootout against Meal Brannocks to win the county final in Galway would be very, very hard bet, because I suppose it was just that monkey off the shoulders and actually finally getting over the line. But in terms of the journey and the enjoyment that started to come after winning in Galway, I suppose a lot of the lads probably say the final whistle when we let Timple know down in Kilmallock. You know, it was fairy tale stuff, and just a wet, dirty day, and busloads from Oughterard going down to Kilmallock and the muck, and it was just unbelievable the release of emotion when the final whistle went. And I suppose thirdly, even though I know you only asked for one, but the whole experience, the whole experience in Croke Park, everything about that day and everything I've heard, like 7 or 8 or maybe 10 buses, I don't know how many there were, but leaving Oughterard to go up to Croke Park, and then just seeing the sea of green in the Hogan stand, and then seeing, you know, family members and kids and stuff after you won it was just unbelievable. So I suppose it's very difficult to put your finger on one, but I suppose the combination of 3, if I could go back and live 3 days over again, I'd pick those 3 definitely.
You should never know, you might get to replay them again. So Enda, what about yourself?
I suppose it's like what Paddy said, it's really hard to pick like one defining moment or one moment that was your favourite. But the most thing I kind of enjoyed was off the pitch, was when, I think it was before most games after the county anyway, there was a gang of lads, I'd say there was about 11 or 12 lads down in our house, and we were playing 30 seconds or we were playing pairs or we were playing something. And just the crack we had, like, I suppose getting such a bond and such a friendship with all the lads, like even more than what you normally would. I think that was my favorite time of it off the pitch. But on the pitch, I think the whole 5 minutes of the penalty shootout, seeing my penalty just about go in, and then the such joy and just the outpour of emotion when we won, when Matthew scored the last penalty was. I'd love to relive that moment. Yeah, it was some feeling.
That's deadly. Yeah. Ciarán, what about you?
I'm probably like the lads. I won't be able to pick one, so I have a couple. But I suppose just what Enda was going on, like the whole like bond we had together off the pitch. Like the night before the Temple No game, Enda dropped me home. I think it was around like 1:30 in the morning, and like we were getting up maybe 8 or 9 o'clock to get the bus down to Limerick. But like, you know, Tommy, our manager, would have been huge on like getting the right amount of sleep and all this kind of stuff, like eating right and just being in a positive mind. But like, but like it was dropping me home at like 1:30 or 2. I suppose favorite moments from the year. I suppose Kilmallock is definitely one. Once the final whistle went, just to see that outpour of emotion. Like, there's Granny stays over at our house most days, and like, if there's nothing for her to do, she'll just watch a match. So like, I'm sitting down beside her watching the matches. Like, I can remember most things from it, but like, the lads mightn't have seen it. But after the Templenoe game, you can see Harry Walsh and Henry Keogh just run up to each other and hug each other, and it just like shows what it meant.
Yeah,
meant to people like that. Then the other two, I suppose, are from the day of the All Ireland. First one was sneaking Paddy Gagan onto the bus. He's the club president.
Right.
We had to stop at the side of the motorway to sneak him onto the bus, like, and he got a huge roar when he got on.
What was the story there?
I think they were strict enough on it. I think it was only meant to be like players
come into the dressing room and all that stuff.
Yeah,
right. wasn't going to be able to get in.
Yeah, so we pulled onto the side of the motorway just to let him in, and then the other one was during the match, Ryan Monaghan overturned Myra Gloom player in front of the Hogan stand, and just to hear the roar that got, like, it just showed how much like our fans outnumbered theirs by, like, kind of, yeah. So they're probably my 3 or 4.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, going on the championship winning season, I suppose, Eddie, when Shane Walsh was awarded that free that could have knocked you out, and Hanley was 100 yards away from his man, since you were probably the closest person anyway.
What's new there, Jason?
What was going through your mind when the ref gave Walsh that free?
When he just missed the shot, what was going through my head was, here we go again. That was It was such it was actually us to a T, because we made a massive comeback in the previous game, 7 down at half time to beat them, to keep us in the hunt. And we were in the first half against Ciarán, we got off to a great start, and then we kind of just started to fall away a bit as the game went on. And you're kind of just thinking, when that shot was taken, that here we go again. This is us to a T. Pierce, when it came to it, we just weren't going to get over the line. So, just thankfully we did know. And it was funny now, because we did find Galway so tough to win. Like, as in, like, all our games bar 2 were very tight. Like,
would you have said harder to win Galway or harder to get from Galway to the end?
Definitely Galway, I'd say.
Probably tougher to win Galway, but I don't know what you're comparing with I know
what you mean. Yeah,
there's a lot of mental baggage there as we're coming through Galway, as we're playing semi-finals and finals, and like, whereas when we come out of Galway, everyone's kind of a bit more relaxed and just
pressure's
off, like, and just give it our best, whatever is our best. Like, we have a bit more buy-in then from the players as well, as they're doing a bit more training, and they're actually, everyone's showing up fit.
Yeah, what about your cornerback not going to bed until 2 a.m. then as well? So.
Jason, I'll tell you, the lads left out one of the highlights of the championship. Now, I don't know if we'd really class it as a highlight, but we're playing Dunmore, and they had a little support group up behind the goals.
Here already.
No, it was a young support group. No, none of them were over maybe 12 or 13 anyway.
Right.
And they seemed to take great shine to Ciarán Hanley and our goalie Jordan, and in particular their body shape. The whole game tormenting the 2 lads over their body shape.
There was a group of, I'd say, there was probably about 15 of them up behind the goal, and like from the first whistle, they were just abusing us. Like, so they were like, you know, they were cheering all of Waller's kickouts, like they're going whoa, and like they were just like, to me and the other cornerback Lee Moore, and they're like, oh, what kind of names are they and stuff, but like, we didn't take too much heed to it, but then like they started getting personal enough. Like,
was it like Marco Bielsa type job where they were sent in to watch, kind of, or
they were just like, they started
questioning the wages.
Yeah,
right.
They were questioning our keeper's weight. But like, once half time came, I remember I think Dunmore got a free and they missed it coming up to half time, and I remember I just like turned and just like gave them the finger. But we came out.
You're almost brave, man, giving 15-year-olds the finger. Like.
Yeah. Should we tell them that you're a primary school teacher, or should we leave that
out? there was 15 of them, so like, but the second half, then like they followed us down the other side as well, so like they weren't giving up.
That's legendary stuff, like, for supporters. That's commitment. I'd be applauding them after the game for that.
Yeah, but they played Oranmore in the county quarterfinal, and that went to penalties. And there's a video of the penalty shootout somewhere, but you can see all 15 of them behind the goal as well that day, like trying to put the Oranmore penalty takers off, and it obviously worked because they won.
That's quality. I haven't heard a story like that about supporters in a fair while.
Oh yeah, they were relentless.
Yeah, it sounds all right. Paddy, after Temple No, after a club that has 5 Spillans in their history, Crowley, Morley, and what else? What were the celebrations like after Temple No?
They were very muted. To be honest, I don't know. The lads might help me out here. I don't even remember. I know we didn't drink anyway.
We didn't drink.
I had a battle with my old lad beforehand because I said 100% if we win, we'll definitely have a few drinks. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking really, but I said 100% we will. Like, and sure, I was wrong. It wouldn't be for the first time, but I suppose when you when you'd won a game like that in that manner and you were going to Croke Park in 2 weeks' time, drink wasn't even a question when you got to that stage. And pictures were celebrating for us, which was grand, like, but it was the kind of thing where you wanted to kind of get home and get away from it as well, because you had not, at the end of the day, there was no silverware on the table and you don't get any cup for beating Temple Gnome. So supporters had a good night for sure, but we were probably, well, and to be fair, like, we had some great nights. We had a brilliant night obviously when we won in Galway, and we had a great night when we won the Connacht final. And I suppose you hadn't drank for the Christmas, and we were well aware of that we hadn't drank a lot for the Christmas. And then when you had Bet Temple No, you know, you're never going to, we were never going to be as a group, as the same group as that 2 weeks away from an All-Ireland final. So
yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, no, speaking of the celebrations as well, I don't know, Ciarán, was it you or someone was sending me videos anyway, but I know the more west the celebrations went, because I know you went through like Lannan and stuff, and you were getting clapped along, and then suddenly you hit home and it was bonfires. I remember seeing the video. So, what were the celebrations like, Enda, after the ultimate had been done?
Yeah, well, the whole bus journey down was unbelievable. It was such good crack. Then like we were all awful eager though to get home. We were all eager because we got food after the game in the underneath the Hogan stand, and I think everyone was just
dying to get on the bus.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 bites and gone. Like, but then when the lads are in front, when they arrived out to the bus, I don't know, was Bobby, the bus driver, someone anyway there was, I don't know how many. I think there was like 10 big black bin bags full of drink and full of drink and ice, and it was class. It was like such a surprise, such a shock. We weren't expecting it, like. So that was great crack. But we were so eager though to get back. Like we stopped in Michaelin, we stopped in Clannan, and thanks to the supporters for coming out to us there. But we were just dying to get back in the bus and get home. Like, and then once we came into Oughterard, the square, it was a horrible evening. Like it was
pissing.
Yeah, I remember that.
But the crowd that was out in the square in Oughterard was like it was class. Like there was so many people there. There was so many people. And then we got up onto back of a big trailer, and Ollie Tierney from Galway Bay. Yeah, Ollie Tierney from Galway Bay was there, and he was a great MC. Like, so he was good crack. So, brilliant. But then obviously that night and the next few days were just class. Like, unforgettable.
Sounds class. Yes. Eddie, what about Tommy Finnerty, the manager? What did he bring that got over the line?
Well, I suppose the one thing about Tommy, like, Tommy had been involved with us so much over the years, and a lot of the younger lads had coached him underage, so like he'd be type it, and he knew everyone so well. Whereas like often we've had managers and they become they go day, whereas like Tommy would spend Monday to Friday probably 2 hours focused on his actual butcher shop, and the other 8 hours ringing lads, organising training, ringing the lads that didn't show up for training, just getting every few percent out of everyone, like, so. And over the course of time, like, it adds up to a huge amount. But like, there's that aspect which is very important. But then it's Tommy's heart, like, he's such a love of Oughterard GAA, like, and you know, it does matter when it comes to it like that. Like, it does give you that bit of inspiration when it's tough going in big games, like, so. yeah, geez, there'll be probably no manager for us ever like Tommy anyway.
Yeah. Paddy, what's the future for Oughterard and Galway football like? Do you think?
I don't know if you were watching any of the Galway Senior Championship and the Intermediate Championship. There's a lot of games streamed this year, and I suppose given the way the year went with the all COVID, you kind of end up watching every game and tuning into all sorts of teams you'd never have watched. But like I would say it was very good quality. I suppose unless you watched our own game against Kerfin, you might.
I did.
I'm sure Jason's going to be glad not to mention it. Like,
I texted Hanley after the game, and I was between two texts. I was like, do I go at him or do I just like stop short and say, look, man, these things happen? And I decided to be polite and stop short because it was just that was the second half from hell.
Bad decision. Do you think Hanley would go easy on you? That's a bad decision.
I remember
the only one. You were the only one who didn't go at him that day.
All right.
I went down to. I remember I went down to Dingle that night with the lads from college. Just like I was depressed, but like I remember we were in drinking pints somewhere, and like you think you've got away from it, like you're not up and tired hearing about it. And there was a couple of outlads on about the match beside me, and I was absolutely depressed. Yeah, it was a bad day.
Yeah, no, they didn't recognise you.
That's him. Yeah. 7 goals.
He's not the lad that was cornered back today.
It was when you watch it. It was. I don't know. You might say different, but Paddy, anyway, yourself, I would have called it the second half from hell. But
yeah.
I suppose like I don't know. It was just a strange year in general, and then we were probably caught a bit. I don't know. Like if you watch the game again in the first half, especially with chances, and when we missed the chance, we missed gilt edge goal chances, and then when you kind of do against a team like Kerfin, and you reckon you played as well as they did in the first half, especially like we were getting a lot of praise for the first half performance, but you went in 6 down, and then once they got the next couple of scores, you're 8 or 10 down, and then we had a game coming up against Monivea, and it was all to play for in the next game. And I suppose we probably took our eye off the ball a bit. When it was a group of 3, there wasn't really going to be score difference. I suppose you could have drawn with Monivea, but it was more or less just kind of mind yourselves. And it was like it's I suppose you can look back now and it would hurt maybe a bit, but at the end of the day, it was just a championship game that happened to be on TV, and we bet Monivea and got through to the next round and stayed up. So I suppose it was probably unfortunate for us that it was on TV, but I don't know. You know, in terms of Oughterard itself and Oughterard going forward, we were on the crest of a wave, and we probably still are. Like the Miners won the first county title the club had ever won, same year as the Intermediate All Ireland, and there's a lot of goodwill around the locality, and there's a lot of momentum that came on the back of winning that. So the future is definitely bright. You know, like it's an ill wind that doesn't favour someone. So
yeah, no, sounds good. Yeah, the community spirit is something, because Ciarán will know as well. Like a principal in my school is Oughterard. There's 2 other Oughterard teachers there. Hanley was one of them, and we still have one left from the side of the lake, whatever side of the lake you're from. So
Kingdom of Glen. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so the community spirit seems to be unbelievable in Oughterard. I suppose the celebrations probably showed you that afterwards, because like my brother won the intermediate county title here, and the celebration seemed fairly wild. And then years after the All Ireland seemed to be on a whole other level. I don't know what the crack was like when I saw trailers coming out in the hole. I was like, what in the name of God is going on? But it looked pretty wild, all right. Did you have any other, before we move on to the next part, did you have any other standout moments from the season or even from the last couple of years, even since you've won it, is there anything else that's been a highlight for you? Or what new skills have you learned in lockdown?
I actually have a moment actually as well. I just thought before most of the games, I used to call up to Tommy's house, just talk through teams and the opposition and stuff. And we were looking at Maracloon, and we were trying to see how we'd get at them and how we'd like gain advantages and stuff. So we ended up changing right the 2 man. We ended up 2 mans are in the half back line with Ronan. But we ended up changing Ryan from centre back to put Keane to centre back, because we wanted Ryan to man mark one of the wing forwards and Keane to be centre back then. And we wanted Keane's an attacking wing back. So we wanted him to mark their centre forward, who we thought mightn't have liked following him, because we picked it out in a few games that he mightn't like tracking back. And Keane does, he does runs and runs and runs and runs and runs. And in fairness to him, he gets his scores too. He does. But I think it was around the 45th minute or 50th minute. I was standing out the middle, and I heard their centre forward shouting at their corner forward, "Come out here to fuck! I'm sick of running after this lad all day long." I knew when he said that, I was like, "Oh, like we have them now." Like we have, like, it was such a boost for me anyway, because I knew we kind of picked on that and we wanted it to work. And when I literally heard it from my own ears, like it was kind of a moment. I just smiled. That's
brilliant. Yeah, no, I thought when you said get an advantage over them, I thought you meant that you were the ones who put the sinkhole up in Monaghan in the middle of the pitch or something like that. I thought that's where you were going with that one.
That's the intention, Jason.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Brilliant foresight.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah. I want to throw it to you. It's kind of a random one, I suppose. Say the four of you were on the Galway panel and you're in time, and you're in an All-Ireland final. Would you trade the All-Ireland final medal for the All-Ireland club medal?
I don't think I would anyway.
You wouldn't?
I know it's no, I don't think I would. Not for club.
You couldn't trade. You couldn't trade the memories of of coming back to Oughterard for anything. Jesus, it's
the whole experience of it all was just.
Like there's actually very few things, football aside, that you'd nearly be traded. That you'd trade against it, like.
Yeah. Paddy is thinking deeply there. Paddy is like, well.
No, that's real. I haven't heard that in a while. No, I agree with the lads. To be honest, it was one of the best experiences I ever had, anyway. And I'm sure winning an All Ireland with your county is unbelievable as well. And if someone had won an All Ireland county, would they say they'd top it with the club they hadn't won? Maybe not. But the experiences that we had, or the feeling that you had, like, I don't know, there was a while, I suppose, in the All Ireland where you kind of had a good feeling you were going to win, because we were winning by a bit, and you got a chance to look around you, and like, Jesus Christ, you know, seeing people that you only ever seen in the pub, or, you know, that you might meet coming out of the hardware, or, you know, and you see them sitting in Croke Park, they wouldn't have a clue what shape the ball was before the year started, and like, just to be up there with everyone pulling in the same direction, like, it's for me, I wouldn't swap it.
If I throw this out, I'll throw this out to you individually, just out of interest. Enda, the toughest player you've ever played against?
Shane Walsh. I had to mark him. I marked him a few times. I marked him this year. He's too fast. He's too skillful. Yeah, definitely Shane.
Yeah. Ciarán, did you hear that? No, he knows how to mark at some corner.
Well, if you look back at the Kilcon-Cumbrian game that day, I think Enda, what he scored that day, was it?
Oh Jesus!
7, 8 or 9 points.
Oh Christ!
So
hold
on. You got one from play, and I got two.
Yes.
I got two.
I knew Hanley would try and start a row at some point. He did it in the student teacher game as well up in the school. He tried to start rows with kids as well. So yeah, that's the first time we've tried this. Paddy, what about you? Toughest you? Well, I suppose they'd be marking you more so. But...
Well, I suppose I spent a lot of my primitive years around the half forward line, and
you make it sound like you're retired. Relax, Jesus, primitive.
I was only really a full forward. Was a stopgap for us. When I came back, I was traveling for a while, and I was a little bit slower and a little bit more unfit than I was before I left. But I don't know. I suppose the usual is you pick county players, but I suppose especially when I was playing around midfield, we used to have great battles with Monavea, and I'd always end up marking Trevor Mullins, and I'd have great battles with him because he's strong as a horse, and you wouldn't get any attack out of him. Like, he was just a pure. He'd spend the whole game hitting you and pushing you and chatting to you if he wanted to as well. So I suppose Enda knows all about marking him. But
and Eddie, what about you? So
my one, you mightn't even have heard of him. Barry O'Driscoll from Cork, Nemo Rangers.
Right.
I just say that because in the Sigerson game years ago, he gave me one hell of a roasting, and it wasn't even, he didn't even do anything special. He just ran out in front of me, got the ball, turned around, ran around me, stuck it over the bar every time. So it actually definitely be him. I've never got a roasting like it since or before.
I was going to say, when you said O'Driscoll, I assumed that there was some sort of Cork link on to come in there somewhere. So, Ciarán, what about you? So,
We were asked this question actually during the summer. The club kind of did a player profile on all of us, and I said,
I didn't read
Anthony O'Leary.
I probably saw it and just no, I'm not reading that.
Yeah, you're probably right not to. But I said Anthony O'Leary that day. He's from Spittle.
No,
definitely my toughest opponent. Underage, I would have always had to mark him, and like I used to always dread it because he was just quick, and he still does have such a good footballing brain. So definitely Anthony.
Yeah, no, I see end up in the corner here. It's just I can see the thinking in his mind. He's going, I need to think of someone that Hanley has conceded like 3-12 off at some stage. So I can get back
probably
it's which one he picks.
Probably a few of them, yeah. There's probably a few of them.
Brilliant, yeah. What else I going to ask you? Yeah, so the last kind of part that since there's 4 of you here, if you're happy to go there, it shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes each. I'll try to quick fire questions if none of you are in a rush. If you're in a rush to go now, just shout. But if not, and I might try them on you first. Now, you probably all get the same 15 or 16 questions here. So Enda's the guinea pig, because he has to go first. So
Right.
I call this round, since the podcast is called the Loaf of Bread, I call this round cutting the crust off because you're a little shit who won't eat them for your mother. So, right, this is a quick fire round to end this. So, your favourite ground that you've ever played on?
Corabdale or Rossmuck.
Nice. What's the worst ground you ever played at?
Kilmallock in All-Ireland semi-final.
Oh, nice. Okay. Hand pass or kick it long?
Oh, kick it long.
Kick it long. Yeah, for the short kick out or the long kick out?
Long. Kick it out.
I kind of guessed that myself, yeah. As a supporter of the match, would you be more tea and hang sandwiches from the boot of the car or the pre-match pub?
Tea and hang sandwiches.
Nice, yeah. Best night you've ever had after a game? You've had many of them, I'd say.
All-Ireland final, I think. All-Ireland final.
Nice.
Best week.
Nice. You can choose one of the famous hats, flags, scarves, or headbands.
Scarf.
Marty or Des?
Marty.
Ooh. Your favourite pundit on the TV in any sport, male or female, doesn't matter which.
That's a tough one. Ian Wright.
Oh, Jesus, okay. The toughest team you've ever played against?
Temple No.
Funniest thing that was ever shouted to you or at you from the sideline?
Come down, it's half time.
Nice, okay. If there was a GAA transfer market, who would you bring in for Oughterard? I just given you a clue. There's a number 2 cornerback that probably needs replacing.
Who would I bring in for Oughterard? I'd have to say Shane Walsh.
Right. Studs or molds?
Studs.
Sweeper or no sweeper?
No sweeper.
Right. And the ultimate question I asked David O'Shaughnessy yesterday as well. The best GAA player in your lifetime, in your opinion?
Conor McManus.
Right. Okay. Nice. Good answers. Eddie, I'll go to you next.
Ooh.
Enda's sweating buckets there now. He's like, Christ, finish.
Eddie, the lads have a chance now to come up with their answers.
I know, yeah, they've been practicing now in the last few minutes. Eddie,
I forgot all the fucking questions.
Eddie, your favourite ground?
Favourite ground, it would be Corabdale.
Worst ground you've ever played on?
It'd be Kilmallock as well.
Right.
Or actually, Oughterard at times as well.
Right, okay. Hand pass or kick pass?
For myself, personally, hand pass.
Hand pass. Short kick out or long kick out?
Well, long kick out.
As a supporter, are you tea and hang sandwiches from the car or the pre-match pub?
I'll be tea and hang sandwiches.
It's the best night after a game? It
would be the Connacht final. I ended up going home early the All-Ireland final night because I couldn't get near the bar, so.
That's another story, I'd say, as well. Hats, flags, scarves, or headbands?
Scarf.
Marty or Des?
Des.
Your favourite TV pundit, any sports, male or female?
Probably Peter Cameron probably.
Peter Cameron, okay, it's a good one. Toughest opponent you've ever played, as in your team, toughest team you've ever played.
Team-wise. It'd be Templeton as well. Well, no, Clorafin actually, because the hockey just.
Fair enough. Funniest thing that's ever been shouted to you or at you from the sideline? That doesn't have to be a manager now, it could be anybody. So.
I wouldn't describe him as particularly funny, more hurtful.
Right.
You get tighter to that lad, you're nowhere near him or something like that. I once had a manager that just told me to get off the pitch as well, like so. that wasn't great.
Right, that's a good one. If there was a GAA transfer market,
he just told me to actually get off the pitch.
He just told you to get off. All right.
Yeah.
That's a different story. I'd say. Do you remember who that was?
Yeah, Mike Welch. We were playing the day after social, and I didn't leave the social maybe until 7 or 8 o'clock. And the game was at 11 o'clock. And I was obviously worse for wears, and he kind of got just fed up with me running around in circles and tripping over myself. I'd say I wasn't even have time. And he just told me to get off the pitch.
Right. I think I need to apologise to Hanley for telling him not to go to bed early enough. So,
yeah.
Eddie, if there was a GAA transfer market, who would you bring in for Oughterard, any player in the country?
Shane Walsh as well.
Right. Studs or moles?
Moldies.
Sweeper, no sweeper?
No sweeper.
And greatest GAA player ever in your lifetime?
Probably James McCarthy or Pork Joyce.
Very good, yeah. Paddy, same thing. You've forgotten all the questions again, I presume. Favourite ground?
I'll say Oughterard as well. We have a good record at home. So
okay. Worst ground?
Anything further back than Oughterard for the most part. So Clifton or Invial, both fairly cat.
Okay. Hand pass or kick pass?
Paddy hand pass.
Fucking trying to kick it in.
The short kick out or the long kick out?
Long kick out.
As a supporter, the tea and hang sandwiches or the pub pre-match?
I'm in the pub.
Fair enough. Best night after a game?
I'll go a bit left field. We won an under-21 AAE Westport final in 2010, I think it was, and we had some fucking session. I think I was 16 or 17, and we had some session. The trainer came out with this Tommy Dewar, and we had a meeting in one of the pubs saying not to make a complete tit of ourselves. And then by the time we went to two or three more pubs after that, and by the time we got to the bowl in at the end, he was dancing on the table himself. So that was.
They're the kind of stories.
Yes.
Hats, flags, scarves, or headbands?
I'll say hat for obvious enough reasons.
Right. Is there a story behind that one as well, or?
No, just my hairline gets a bit of abuse. So.
Sure look. We got just the two boys and then Ciarán are far too much of it anyway. So, Marty or Des?
Marty.
Favorite pundit anywhere?
I'll say Roy Keane's box office.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Toughest team you've ever played against?
I'll go with Templeton as well. To be honest, it was just.
Okay. GAA transfer market. Who would you buy? Anyone or Oughterard?
David Clifford.
Clifford, nice. Studs or moles?
Studs.
Sweeper, no sweeper?
No sweeper.
I think I'll just delete that question because nobody's going to say sweeper really, unless I get like Dave Fitzgerald or someone on. And
wait till you get to Hanley.
Oh, and Paddy, your all-time great GAA player.
I'll say Jeff Allen as well. He was his later Gale and a year till Sunday do it for me as well. So
phenomenal, yeah, good man. Ciarán, favourite ground?
I'll go Carbdale 4 from 4.
You can say the Phoenix Park as well, for all our great days out we had at the school. Worst ground?
It's probably not the worst ground, but Iron Islands, we played a game out there last year. It's fucking right on it's like in the middle of the ocean or the middle of the sea. The wind is awful, so
yeah, I've been out there a couple of times. Yeah, I didn't. I wouldn't have liked to have played that match, to be honest. So, hand pass or kick pass?
Hand pass.
Tea and hang sandwiches from the boot or the pre-match pub?
Tea and hang sandwiches.
Nice. Best night after a game?
I've got two. The Sunday night food and disco after the All-Ireland will definitely be hard topped.
Right.
And the second was we played Iron Islands actually. I don't know, was it in a league or a challenge? I don't know, was it the year we won the All-Ireland or the year before? But
it was the year we won the All-Ireland.
Yeah, we played them out there and we stayed the night, and yeah, that was an experience.
It's fairly good, yeah. Are my hats, flags, scarves, or headbands?
Hats.
Yeah, you've enough hair to come out under the hat.
No, I covered the forehead.
All right. Marty or Des?
Marty.
Favourite pundit?
Yeah, I'll probably go Roy Keane at the minute.
Nice, yeah. Toughest team you've ever played against?
Me, O'Brannocks.
Yeah, O'Brannocks, very good. I can't remember if I missed. Paddy, I might have missed this one for you. Did I funniest or strangest thing ever showed at you from the sideline? Did I miss that? Did I ask you that?
I think you might have, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know?
That's me.
Yeah.
I suppose since I moved into the full forward line, I've heard "get out of the fucking way" a few times. I think I'm making a good run, but I'm actually fucking in the way. Right. So
we'll take that. So yeah. And Ciarán, what about you? Same one. Funniest thing ever showed.
I don't know, and I had a good while to think about it. Yeah, that's probably one of them. GAA, I can't really think of one. On a soccer pitch, I've had plenty of things shouted at me, and I've been called plenty of things. So I'll probably have to go with something from that. But
yeah, go on. Yeah,
I probably wouldn't be able to repeat it either.
Fair enough. Okay.
Give us a word to replace the expletives.
Yeah, go on.
Just replace the expletives with another word.
Yeah, just replace it with puppy like they did in Friends or whatever it was.
I can't even think of any, but I know I've been called enough things.
If you think of it,
it usually just consists of one word, like so.
Fair enough. Okay. Right. If you think it's puppy, exactly. If you think of it at the end, you can let us know. If it was a GAA transfer market, who would you buy?
Probably look at getting a new fullback.
He's not saying it, and he's just looking at you with daggers here. So,
who would I go with? Brian Fenton.
Yeah, that's David O'Shaughnessy said the same for the Westmeath team as well last night. Studs or moles?
I don't want to play fullback, so.
I don't think Fenton wants to play fullback either, Hanley.
Great enough putting Fenton fullback.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't win high ball,
no, you wouldn't. No, definitely not. Studs or moles, Ciarán?
Studs.
6 sweepers or 7 sweepers? How many sweepers are you allowed?
I'll go 7.
7 sweepers.
Just in case Keane Monaghan is playing. He needs someone to fill in for him. Yeah, we'll go 7.
He's not here to defend himself now. That's not fair. So we'll just say 5 sweepers to be fair to him. So, and the greatest ever GAA player in your, which is probably someone from 2000 since you were only born in like 2010, probably. So.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah, sounds good. Can't argue with that. For the 4 before I finish up, any other interesting stories from club career, underage, anything you want to throw out?
Eddie might have something from the 90s when he was playing.
Making my way down to Carvdale in 92.
The pre-professional era, Ed. Give us a story there about how I used to drink at that time.
What was that actually, Eddie? While you mentioned, what was the Sigerson career like?
I was short and brief with GMIT.
Right.
Both short and brief, so you know.
The semi-final I wasn't starting, and 2 quarterfinals I was starting for. And we actually, funny enough, we lost the fresh All-Ireland final in 2007. Paddy Andrews was centre back for DCU, and he's all over saying how they hammered everyone in the country or whatever. And I was sore enough over that because only bells by the 2 points.
He would be naturally enough, yeah. Where Enda, I'll ask you the last one. one article said it's potential that Matthew Tierney could be the next Lionel Messi or Jack Fallon.
I'd say he wrote that himself.
Should I ask the other lads as well, Paddy, Eddie, Ciarán, is that bias written by Matthew Tierney, or is it since he's not here?
Yeah, let Enda answer it.
Let me answer.
Yeah, go on.
No, he definitely wrote it himself.
That's confirmed. So, Paddy, what about yourself?
No, Matthew is a class act, to be fair, for lads that wouldn't have seen him. Like, if you watched us this year, or last year, or the All-Ireland year, he was unbelievable. I don't know how good Messi would have been scoring 45s against Branagh, but Matthew definitely did it anyway, so.
Matthew will be better than the year, I know.
Have a bit of height on him, yeah.
The best thing that happened, well, last year he just held his nerve so well, and he had so many pressure kicks. I think he had 5 or 6. Was it 8?
8 against Branagh, I think.
Well, no,
7 or 8.
I think he had 5 kicks to equalise games. So in both county finals, so he had 2 penalties, and I think he had 2 in the first game and maybe 3 in the second game, all to equalise the game near the end of the game. So that's credits to you, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
one of them. Jason cost me a trip to Canada.
Go on, yeah, tell us so.
Yeah, so I'd flights booked with a horse running in Canada 2 weeks later, and after the Brannach's game, and I booked the flights the day before the county final. I said, "Geez, this would be great. No, we'll win the county final, and then 2 weeks later I'll go off to Canada to follow the horse." And as soon as the winter replay, flights gone, money gone.
And what was the horse race in Canada?
I can't even remember what horse race it was now, but we had a horse running there called Red Tea.
All right. So, and do you run the horses generally at home, or? Yeah,
usually at home now. This horse just kind of started going well, and got invited to a race in Canada. So
very good.
Joe's funny. It was just bad all around because it had a big value at the time, and it ran a stinker in Canada and lost most of its value.
Andrew lost the price.
It ended on a positive note.
It's better that I stayed at home and we got to win the county final.
Yeah, Paddy saying they're attended a positive note. Did any horse ever win a race?
They only won when he didn't tell us they were running the fucker.
That's always right. That's always afterwards. Oh yeah, standard. Lads, look, I'll leave you in just to say massive thanks a million for coming on the Loaf of Bread pod, and Ciarán for organising it. I hope he eventually get back. It looks like he won't be back until at least after Easter anyway, by the sounds of it. But I hope the season goes well, and I hope all is good in Oughterard and with Galway, and hope the Lionel Messi inspired Galway team will do wonders in the coming months and years and stuff as well. So lads, thanks very much, and I really, really appreciate it.
No bother, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Cheers, lads. Mind yourselves. I'll talk to you after. Take it easy.
Good luck.
Bye.
Coming up next week on the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, we cut into our next slice. On slice number 4 of the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, I have the pleasure of sitting down to chat with Wicklow manager Davy Burke.
I think you might have a little bit of a niche, because obviously football, and we're a football mad country, let's be honest about it, we're football mental and GAA mental, but I like your little, your take on it and your twang on it, so fair play to you and best of luck with it.
We talk everything from wedding speeches to the GAA to golf and all in between. Join us next week on the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Anchor and Pocket Casts, on Instagram at Loaf of Bread GAA pod, on Twitter at LoafPod, and on email loafofbreadpod@gmail.com. For any questions, queries, comments, feedback, or if you're interested in coming on yourself. Slán again.